Greetings, it is now time for Man Alone to play Pendragon. Some say that Man Alone is King Arthur reborn, others say he is the Burger King reborn. I just call him Well Dad, he is my father, he is the father to all of us, he is King Arthur reborn, and he is our father. Enjoy the show.
Huh?
Hey everybody, welcome to the first episode of my 5-year solo campaign of Pendragon. You read that right, 5 years, and that's not in the game, that is in real life. I am going to attempt to play a single solo campaign for 5 years. I have wanted to do this for a long time. And generally, it's not good in terms of psychological motivation to announce that you have the intent to do something. For instance, they show that like people who say, "Hey, I'm going on a diet," receive 85% of the positive praise of what they would get from actually losing the weight. So it massively demotivates them. And so I'm not trying to demotivate myself for anything here. I'm fairly certain that I want to do this, and it's certainly something I want to do more than drinking Slim Fast. The reason that I've wanted to play a longer campaign is because I want to get really good at a game. And I want to have a really good understanding of it. I want to explore different things. I want to be able to stick with it long enough to develop a relationship with it where I can start to innovate, that I can start to teach others, that I can be up to date with any sort of changes or the discussion in the community. And I have had a harder time with this for a couple of reasons early on. I tried to do this with some other games, and there's nothing really stopping me from doing that. It was more or less a confluence of factors that just made it a little bit difficult to do that. Then the first thing is, and I've mentioned this in videos before, a little bit of insider baseball here, that solo playthroughs are the most requested and the least watched videos on the channel. But those who do watch them love them. So there is part of me that wants to honor that. And there is a part of me that wants to honor my own desire to solo play. I solo play about 2 to 3 times a week in some capacity. This week, I have been absolutely addicted to Cartograph by Brandon Lee. I did a video on that a few days ago, as well as just kind of getting through the first paces of Toby Lancaster's new Kickstarter game, Alien Sanctuary. But I play a lot of games on this channel. This channel has, in a lot of ways, allowed me to live my best life and pay that forward because I have a full-time job. And so I do get some money from memberships. Not too much, but because I don't need to rely on that for my livelihood, I'm able to invest almost 100% of that back into games that I can then share with you on the channel. And I think that allows me to bring new stuff to the table all the time and have lots of different reviews and different conversations about different modes of inquiry I have about those games. And so I'm really, really grateful that I'm able to do that and to share that with you, and that all of you have given me the opportunity to do that, because for somebody who has as bad of an attention deficit as I do, the ability to move through lots of things and experience lots of different games has just been something that's so fascinating and exciting and hilarious and fun. And so that's been awesome. However, there is that part of me that craves fully immersing myself into a game universe. And I have done that before. I did that with Starforged to some extent. I did that with D&D 5e, when I first started like soloing that, that was very early on. And I've had different levels of that with different games, but it's harder to do that on camera. And when I say that, when I bring that up about how solo actual plays are the lowest watched, I want to be certain that everybody understands that that's not me saying like, oh, it's not profitable. It's not about that. It's that because I do see a relationship between my viewers and moreover my subscribers and moreover my members, because I do see all of you as those who give me the ability to make this content, and the number of you is what allows game makers to reach out to me and say, can I send a review copy and everything. I can't do that without all of you, right? So I do feel responsible to some extent, to find that Venn diagram between what I want to do and what you want to see, right? Because if it's just what I want to do, I don't need to do it on camera. And if it's just what you want to see, I'm not going to be very motivated to make videos, right? So it has to be in that sweet spot. And so when I make a video that solo plays of all videos require the most preparation, right? Especially a game that's quite expansive. Like if I were to do one video on Pendragon Solo, that would be a lot of preparation for just like an hour worth of video. And so it's a cost benefit analysis, but the benefit is not in terms of how much money I make, because I don't, as I've said before, like at this stage, like a really good video for me, I might make like $30 on it, which is awesome, but it's not like to the point where I'm making decisions about what I play because I need to buy, a second yacht or something like that. And so I want to make sure that I'm creating and using my time in a way that's going to be awesome for both of us. Because of that, I am going to be making the most of the Pendragon 5-year campaign a members perk. My plan is to release at least one video on it a month. And then every 4 of those, and I believe that Pendragon runs in seasons, so every winter, I'm thinking, where you have the feast and everything, I'll make that public so that everybody can enjoy it. And don't worry, like if you're not able to be a member or whatever, I totally understand. Don't sweat it. I still want to have that for you. And it's also not going to affect my other videos. So I'll still do like, some playthroughs of games. I'll still do the reviews. I'll do everything. I'm not going to be like devoting all of my attention to this. I just wanted to have one thing that I keep coming back to that is really, really interesting to me for a couple of reasons. The first reason is chemical. I got the hots for this game. I mean, there's no other way to say it. It is truly alchemical, chemical romance. I just love looking at it. I love paging through it. I love thinking about it. I love Arthurian legends. Once and Future King, Mort Arthur, Gawain and the Green Knight. All of these things are part of my literary intrigue, and one of the coolest, earliest movies I ever saw in my life was Excalibur. And if you haven't seen that, it is a real trip. But I just want to. And I think, it's good to remember that for any game, that needs to be the first thing. The same rules that go into a relationship have to go for solo play. Is like, you got to be attracted. There has to be chemistry there, right? So that's number one. Number two is what I like about doing a longer campaign with this game is that I'm at the beginning. I have brought this game to bed over and over again, trying to read it, and I'm having some sort of mental block because it just feels so big. There's something about it where I go, what if I read 20 pages and then I've only read 20 pages? These silly little dyscalculias that you do in your head when you have sort of a bigger task to complete. And for me, when I have something that I'm really thinking is going to be worthwhile and is really going to feel fulfilling, when I need to get through the tedious part, I'm usually best at doing that when I can be with others. Now, I can't necessarily actually be with you now, but just the projection of like the future conversation happening between our minds is enough to make me feel less bored, right? Because I'm going to have to do a lot of reading here. I'm going to have to do a lot of learning, and I am literally at the ground floor. Like, what I know about this game is from paging through it, watching videos about it, participating in the Discord, asking questions, but I am truly at the ground floor. Okay. So we have the attraction, ground floor. The third thing that makes this, I think, the perfect pick for a longer campaign is that my understanding is that this 6th edition here, and I know that there's still like sort of some pieces of this that need to be filled in. Despite my ignorance about this game and system, the consensus that I'm getting from a lot of people is that this is more of a player's handbook, and that the GM guide will be coming in 2025, and that will sort of complete fill in a lot of gaps about feasts and nobles and things like that, like things that are really important to people that have played this game for a long time. But for me, I'm just like, oh, yes, of course. You can't play without knowing like the rules on feasts or whatever. I don't know if that's actually what it is in the GM book, but it's stuff of that degree or of that caliber. And so I'm attracted to it. It's the ground floor. It's the beginning. We can learn this together. And because this is the culmination, this is the full realization of Greg Stafford's vision, I can trust that I can put my time into this and it's not going to move on. You know, I think about things like I've wanted to get Alien and Blade Runner from Free League for a long time now. And I've just not been able to pull the trigger on it because I was like a little bit past the release date of it. And then look, like new editions of those are coming out. Alien for sure. I'm not sure. I think there's a new one of Blade Runner, or maybe it's just a different way of playing, but it's neither here nor there. The point is that this is what Greg Stafford, like the full, complete concept is. That's at least the idea here. And so there is going to be good people at Chaosium who are invested in this. They're going to stick with this, and I'm not going to start playing this and suddenly they're going to move on and say, oh, well, you know, no, that was the final release for 6th edition, onward to 7th or whatever. Like, I can trust that this is going to be around for a while and it's still coming together. And so those three things to me make it the ideal candidate for this longer term campaign. Again, I'm going to try to play at least once a month. And the first 2 or 3 videos, I will just do it publicly just to get feedback and let people know like kind of what this is going to look like, how it's going to play out. And then after that, it will be a member perk for the SEAL Team Waffle Alpha, which I encourage you, if you can, that's $3.99 a month. That's going to get you access to the weekly podcast, to the gorgeous set of emojis, including a seal, a waffle, and our friend Gene Hackman, as well as a Discord server, which again, some of you are seeing. I'm slowly opening it up to different. We're creating a paradise, and so that's going to be wonderful as well. So if you could do that, great. If not, we'll try every I guess once a season in real life. I will make a video of this public just so everybody can kind of keep up with it, even if you're not able financially to be a member yet. So where to begin? I have the core rule book. That seems like the right place to be. Chaosium very generously sent the Grey Knight campaign for me to review. That would seem like the right idea, right? If somebody sends you a free, high-quality hardcover book, you want to dive right in the review. I even bought a custom map made on Etsy with a beautiful rendering of Britain as it was divided in the time of Uther, Arthur, the Saxons, etc. I could start with all of that, but I truly don't know how to play. And so that's where I need to just do my last sort of preamble clarification here of who this video series is going to be for. As I see it, I think it will be most interesting to people who are learning how to play and people who are advanced players. For those who are learning how to play, I encourage you to follow along and learn how to play with me. Unlike other videos that I like to do as sort of one-shots, I'm going to make more use of pauses in these videos, and basically how they're going to go, especially at first, when I'm learning how to play, is I'm going to learn how to play on camera. And what that means is I'm going to read a section, and then I'm going to unpause, and I'm going to talk about it, teach a little bit of it. It helps me to learn to teach people. And then once we finish that, pause it. I'll read the next section. I'll report back. And then once we get into character creation and stuff like that, I can start creating a character and figure out a campaign, et cetera, et cetera. And we'll also start learning how to solo in this world, which my understanding is that the best way to do that is with the great Pendragon campaign. So that is coming in the mail, as well as Pendragon 5.1e. I have both those coming. I got those from drive-thru, which I used the media mail delivery option, which means it could be here in a week. It could be here at my retirement party in 30 years, but it will get here soon enough. That was like 2 weeks ago. And in the meantime, I do have the PDF of the great Pendragon campaign, was able to get that, as well as the 5.1 edition. Those on the Discord who are extremely generous and helpful directed me to this, saying that this is the best source for all things Pendragon. There are some other books that, as we get to them, I may pick up those supplements as well. Chaosium has a lot dedicated to this. And also have a character sheet, and I believe, it's form fillable, so we'll be able to keep track of that here. And what I'm probably going to do is pen and paper while I'm playing, and then I'll transfer this up to each time we play. I'm also going to see if I can post this anywhere on my crypt pad so that other people can follow along with it. But if you were interested in joining me on this adventure, that I think would be really awesome. I'm going to put a channel in the Man Alone Discord for people who are playing Pendragon, and maybe that'll just be me at first, which is fine. But I'm going to start, and I'm going to start in this episode right now with the Pendragon starter set that I sat on the other day and broke a little bit. And then we'll move on to the core book. We'll learn some solo techniques. There's some really cool videos out there. And there is, both in the starter set and in the core rule book, some solo modules for people to play through to create their character. And even in that, I'm already just browsing through that. I'm already getting an idea of how special this game is, as well as the fact that there are specific instructions for how to play solo in a group campaign, which I think is really cool. And I had talked about this in sort of in a video maybe a month ago about 2 months, about the direction of what I'd like to see going forward in solo play. Having these modular solo components of games where you can play on your own and then come back to your group play, and then you can kind of go back and forth with it. Well, hell, what did I know? Because this was already happening in Pendragon. And so now I believe that those, not the intro one here, but I believe the ones in the campaign are solo in as far as between a player and a GM, but I think we'll have plenty of tools to make those modifications, and we'll use our skills and the community and everything to fill in the blanks in terms of the tools that we need for solo play. And hey, if we can get into it enough, maybe make some of our own. And so I'm going to start with the top with the Pendragon starter set. I have gone through it on the channel before, but just a quick review of it. And I have my printouts in here because unfortunately the character sheets, it's not really unfortunately, it's not like I've been done dirty or nothing, but the character sheets in there are pre-gens, which is good, right? You want those as examples, but I wish there had been one that I could fill out, but no worries. I printed these out just in case, we're going to do a trial squire here that we don't stick with throughout the play. In fact, the one I'll start with here will be the one that was poorly printed and cut off the top. Okay. I would love to say, well, before we begin, here's a quick overview of Pendragon, but I seriously barely know anything about it. And so, again, I learn a lot through teaching. When I am able to teach something to somebody, that's when I know that I understand it. And that's what a lot of my channel is about. And so if you're a beginning player, that might be useful to you. But I had mentioned that I thought that advanced players might be interested as well. And maybe that's not quite right to say that you'd be interested, but I would be interested, and others who are learning how to play might be interested if you're able to give some insights on, maybe I'm doing something wrong. Maybe there's a better resource for something. Maybe there's a house rule that works better. So please feel free to also join us on that ride. Those who it might not be for, it's definitely not going to be for the people who never watch a video on my channel. Well, clearly that, right? People who don't watch my channel, it's not for you. No, but I'm saying people who their approach to solo RPG YouTube is the Spotify version rather than the buying the album version, where they just go from video to video and want to extract as much information as they can, whether that's a review or a playthrough. And then when they don't get that immediately, which I'm sure I'm going to get this for this video several times, people are going to say, get to the point. Well, the point is, what's the point? Why are you doing this hobby if you're trying to get to a point? This is literally one of the hobbies that never has a point. And also, I'm sorry, I have do not disturb on, but I keep getting notifications. Okay, so, yeah, and those who are just, maybe interested in seeing some quick, snappy actual play from somebody who is very experienced, this probably won't be, this won't be the right series for you either. But anyways, without further ado, I say let's get into it by just starting at the top and opening this up. So I'm going to clear these other books off and we'll get going. Okay, quick recap of what we have in here. So it's quite a thin starter set, but it's pretty good. Obviously, the art is incredible. I love this type of art that's in there. I love this type of art, these little things on the pages. There is a certain stained glass type art. And then sort of puzzlingly, there's a few pieces of art that have a more I don't know, rendered look to them. I think on this intro adventure here, this kind of thing. I'm not crazy about that. But if you look at the stained glass type art, oh, well, there it is again. That is at the beginning, I think, of the chapters. it is just, it's beautiful. I mean, it's just stunning. Who is the artist here again? Let's take a look. Jeff Richard, and design and layout, Simeon Cogswell. Cover artist, Mark Smiley. Beautiful. Okay, so I'm just looking here. I never seen that before. Oh, let's maybe zoom in for this little review, but I just never seen it. Says this book is set in Imfell, Urban Gothicus. All right. Well, we'll get to the fonts of that book in time. So, it's upside down. So this is all the contents of it. You know, I mean, I saw a few reviews of this by people who are very experienced in Pendragon. They're just saying it's outstanding. I am not used to Pendragon, and so you know, it looks like it's like $30, I think it was, new. So I'd say for $30, it's a really good deal. But like, for instance, the cards are kind of bendy and perforated. You get some standard dice and stuff. And then you get these laminated mini books, which I would prefer something that's more of like a matte finish. But these character sheets, to me, are the real joy here, is how they're set up like menus like this. I think that's awesome. So presentation is only one piece of things. We also have to mainly actually to look at the contents of it. So yeah, we're going to get 6d6 dice with a d20, which my understanding is those are the only dice that you need. The cards, I did rip them up. I don't think that's what you say. I separated them very carefully because I am notorious for ripping things that are perforated. And like I said, I think these are all pre-gens here. And please, somebody in the comments, tell me how to say this, because I want to say escuchion. But I think I'm, well, maybe summoning my Romance language background is serving me well, or maybe it's not, because I for some reason I feel like someone's going to say it's escutcheon, or you don't even say chion, you say escutcheon. Either way, I'm looking forward to this, and there is actually a guide in the core book for putting together this heraldry, which I think is a nice little touch. At first, when I saw that, I thought it was like a portrait. And whenever I get offered the chance to make a portrait for my character, I'm always like, that's okay. So we probably don't want to start with the appendices. What's in the box? Book 1, The Adventure of the Sword and the Stone, an exciting solo quest, which apparently is a registered trademark, specifically designed to teach the rules of the game and introduce Pendragon. So that's what we're going to try to do today. Book 2, The Fabled Realm. This book, intended for game masters and players, goes further into the setting and core mechanics. Book 3 is The Sword Campaign, a detailed 5-year campaign that's in-game 5 years. We're going to be playing out-of-game 5 years. That takes the player knights through the most important early events of the Boy King's reign: battles, feasts, larger-than-life foes, and strange creatures. All this and much more await. And then we have some appendices with additional rules and details. 8 pre-gen player knights, each newly knighted or nearly so and ready for adventure. 18 cards with battle cards detailing encounters and opportunities, and the dice. Let us win glory for our king, who will reward us with honors and lands, and the devil take the hindermost. So I guess I feel like I have no right to talk about this because I have never played the game before. But if you've never heard of Pendragon, you just happen upon this video and you've never heard of it before, the one thing that I see in every video is them saying, this is an RPG that has constraints to it. You are not creating your own world that is as free and open sandbox as you want it. That doesn't mean that, we can't be creative, and, we're going to be creating dialogue. We're going to be creating combat. We're going to be creating events, court intrigue, romance, all these kind of things we're going to create in this world. But it's not like, I think how someone said in the comments, like, it's not like a power trip fantasy where you could just become whatever you want. In this game, you're a knight. You're not a wizard. You're not a cleric. You're not an elf. You're a knight. And the knights can be different. They can be men, they can be women, they can be pagan, they can mostly be Christian, because that's what most knights were. But whatever you are, you're a knight. Now, my understanding is there's like some slight variation in options for characters who want to play but don't want to fully invest. Like there's options to be like a lady in waiting or a courtesan or stuff like that. We'll probably take some of those roles on as we solo play, just to, fulfill those. But those are not going to be the main things. Those are what we would call like perfect BB. My fiance would be perfect to, like, she loves to play like NPCs or just kind of swing into a campaign to be like a shopkeeper and stuff like that. So maybe we can get her on the horn as well. All right. So as seems most numerically preordained, we're going to start with the Sword and the Stone, because that would be ridiculous not to start there. So let's do it. All right. So at this point, I'm going to leave behind like my assessment of this. When I'm a little bit more familiar, I will be doing a review of the Grey Knight campaign. Once I get my head around Pendragon more and have a little bit better of an idea about it, then I'll feel like I'll be able to assess that, even though it might probably be some time till I play it. I will be able to give a good assessment of that. But I'm not going to be doing the whole like, oh, look here. I'm going to be learning and I'm going to be playing. Okay, so we're going to start here. Solo Quest. The adventure of the Sword and the Stone takes place in the fantastical world of Greg Stafford's Pendragon role-playing game. Although you normally play Pendragon with one or more friends, this adventure, all you need is a pencil, some dice, and your wits. Check, check, maybe check. You're playing the part of a page serving in the household of a kindly aging knight named Sir Ector. His manor lies nestled in the wilds of modern-day Wales, Cymrich, or whatever, in a tiny kingdom called Penlyn. Pages are young boys and girls between 7 and 14 who learn the ways of courtly life by observing their elders and doing menial tasks. After serving as pages, most girls become handmaidens to ladies, though some may pursue a martial path and become squires. Boys almost always become squires, though the runts and thirdborns of the family are sometimes sent off to the priesthood. Now that you're 14, you are among those pages at court who dream of soon becoming squires to great and noble knights. Sir Ector has 2 squires in his service, his sons Kay and Arthur. Squires study the ways of knighthood while they serve. Those who are confident in themselves, show promise, and who have the right connections might become knights. Most remain squires after age. By the way, I'm not going to be reading every single page of this book. I'm just sort of reading this out to set the stage here. Most remain squires after age 21 and are called esquires to indicate that they are not in service to a specific knight. Kay is an accomplished squire, brave and brash, and due to be knighted soon, as he is only too happy to remind anyone who will listen. Sir Ector says Britain will need many more knights with strong arms like Kay's in the years to come. For these are dark times indeed. The land has fallen into anarchy and despair. The last High King of Britain, Aurelius Ambrosius, died 30 years ago. His brother, Uther, ruled for 15 years after that from the mighty kingdom of Logris, but never achieved the coveted title of High King. He died, along with most of the nobility of Logris, over the course of one fateful evening, victims all of foul Saxon treachery. That was 14 years ago, and you were still in your mother's belly, except for that brief blessed time. You have never known a wholly peaceful world. Raids from the hill folk of the Cambrian interior, border skirmishes with neighboring petty kingdoms, and Irish reavers from the sea trouble your land, particularly in recent years. Logris, they say, may fall to Saxon invaders at any time. Its warlords too busy squabbling amongst themselves to mount an effective defense against the barbarians. Britain cries out for a new High King, for the return of strength, unity, and stability. But here in Penlyn, on Sir Ector's estate, these troubles seem far away right now. A brisk autumn breeze riles up your hair as you step out of the manor hall and spot Arthur and Kay getting set for Quintain practice. If only you could join them. And a little note here, the adventure serves as an introduction to the world of Pendragon, players and game masters alike. It also sets up the event for the first scenario in Book 3, the adventure of the sword tournament, and provides an alternate viewpoint of one of the scenario's key moments. And I guess before I dive in, read, and give you the high points here, let's do the little italicized. We're not going to be able to read these little things forever. And when matins and the first mass was done, there was seen in the churchyard against the high altar a great stone foursquare like unto a marble stone, and in midst thereof was like an anvil of steel a foot on high, and therein stuck a fair sword, naked by the point. That's in Le Morte d'Arthur, Book 1, Chapter 5. Okay, so I'm going to review Introduction, Another Time, Another World, and do the next couple pages, probably up to character development, so maybe these two, and give some high points. All right, so as expected, this is going to lead us through a little solo kind of pocket quest here, but I'll be doing dice rolls for my character, whoever that will be, and sometimes on behalf of other characters, and then there's going to be some choices along the way, and of course the luck of the dice roll, such that at the end of it, we'll score it up, and that will give us an idea of what knight we eventually become, and hopefully we can take that forward into the next supplement for here and maybe into the campaign. We'll see. Okay, cool. So essentially this lays out the world that it's in. So Greg Stafford's Britain is a combination of it's historical fantasy of Dark Ages Britain, and he draws in a lot of influences from, the classic sources, Sir Thomas Malory, Edmund Spenser, Tennyson, but also popular modern literature. And this quest right here is starting in 509. It gave me a little bit of an overview that is giving me like flashbacks to high school Western Civ or history. But there's 5 regions right now, and they say the north is beyond Hadrian's Wall. That's where Jon Snow is. Can you believe that? The end of the show, he just gets sent to the north. What a joke. All right, I'm not going to get mad about that right now. So this would be the Kingdom of the Scots. This looks like Hadrian's Wall right there. And Ireland, obviously. So there's 5 kingdoms. This would be Wales. And it's a little bit too small to read it. But that's okay, because I'm sure they're going to have a map in here. But there have the north beyond Hadrian's Walls, Cambria and Cornwall to the west and south, Cumbria in the middle, and Logres to the southeast over here. And then there's some smaller islands, and then there's Ireland. Logres is the most powerful part of it. But also in this world, this is still Roman, the legacy of the Roman Empire. But in the fantasy piece of it, there's lots of lions and panthers, and deep into the woods, the heartwoods and the marshes, are dragons, whose occasional sallies wreak havoc on the settlements. And what is clear here is we're going to use the D20 to resolve actions and test morals and beliefs. And the D6s apparently are used for combat. Now, I think what is a really big part of this that, from my impressions, this is really, I think, what makes or breaks a lot of people's interest in this game. And unfortunately, from what I understand in the dialogue around it, I think there is a little bit of misunderstanding about how the passions and stuff work in this game. I'm not yet qualified to talk about it expansively, but I know that it's sort of a zero-sum spectrum between two competing passions that equal 20, I believe. And like if you have more of one, you have less than another, right? Yeah, 20. So like chaste or lustful, energetic, lazy, forgiving or vengeful. And whatever your character is, because it's on the D20, most of the time you're going to act in accord of that. And then if you don't hit that roll, I think it's a roll under, we'll figure this out, then you don't act opposite to your nature. You might act just some other way. And it seems to me that the people who do not like Pendragon are, and I'm not saying they're ignorant, but they have the wrong paradigm in their head, right? Because if you're used to coming from D&D, my goals are to max out my loot, max out my damage, explore new places, kill all the baddies, whatever that might be. The objective of Pendragon is to find out what kind of knight you are. And so this is why I think my curiosity about solo play for this is so high, because this is what I really like. So much so that apparently I was reading a little history that in the 90s, there were a lot of games that started giving like bonuses for people role playing well. And to me, that is where the best stories in roleplay come from. Not when you're trying to make your character the coolest, most perfect, most holy, most badass. It's when you're trying to make your character who they are. And so the fact that we have these traits to guide us, I think to somebody who's working from the paradigm of D&D would see that very limiting. It's like, well, I don't want to make that choice. Why would I make that choice? I don't want to do that, right? And I think in some ways, this game might be revealing one of the most important rifts in the game RPG community that I see emerging, is that like, yes, I am going to infuse myself into this night. I'm going to experience things as if I were them, but I am not them. And so to me, I'm going to get an enjoyment from finding out who they are, not who I am. And I think more and more we're seeing people who don't want to do stuff like this because they're like, no, then I can't be me. But strangely, it's like, that's the point. But it's preference. I think it's also a fair amount of like worldview and maybe ideology. I won't get into that, but I think that for the most part, this is the kind of play that I appreciate. And just a brief aside, it really sucks when I play in groups where I'm really focusing on being true to my character and making a good story. And even, when I have to sort of take a hit because I go, my character just wouldn't do that. They wouldn't say that, if I very clearly have a chance to like get an awesome upgraded thunder hammer and I just go, no, my character wouldn't steal that. In the short term, oh shucks, that sucks. But in the long term, I'm creating something that's more believable. And that is what allows me to experience those transformative, transcendent feelings. If I'm constantly installing myself, well, I have to admit, I'm 40 now. I'm sort of sick of myself in a lot of ways, right? Like I'm trying to, it's just like, oh, here we go. Here I go with one of these rants again, oh, here I go, like getting upset at this thing for no reason. And so, to me, this is an escape, and I can't escape if I'm me with like armor on. Anyways, back to the action. So, that is the main point, finding out what kind of knight you are. And you are going to be a knight. Now, this is not just me restating what I said before about like, oh, you're not going to be a wizard or whatever. Like, you also have to pursue things that knights would pursue. Obviously, Every night is going to be different. But in 509, things were completely different in terms of how we saw our own story and our own life and our own choices. Like, did you notice that part that's like, if you're the third born, you're a priest? Like, it's not like if you were the third born, you could have been like, I'd actually like to start like a homemade popcorn business. It's like, no, bye, you're a priest. And so for knights, glory and honor is what they want. Notoriety, fame, and it's going to be tied with their morality. And yes, that morality is much different than ours now. It is temporal, so it might not be the same in 509 as it is later. But for the most part, the external moral impression of your character is going to determine their level of glory and honor. So it says, like, knights like Sir Agravain or Sir Breus Sans Pitié are infamous for their rotten personalities and questionable behavior, but both achieve high glory, right? And so glory is your notoriety and fame, whereas honor is your behavior. I would say, like, how honest you are, how consistent you are to your word, how true you are, how much you're able to avoid temptation or to perform deeds in a certain way, regardless of whether or not there is reward or recognition for it. And in a lot of ways, glory and honor are an interesting, I think this picture is sort of interesting, especially as both glory and honor are can be face values, right? In the sort of face versus I forgot what the different types of cultures there are, but the face being the way that you are judged, but then there's this inner part of you that is independent of that, and so sometimes you have to sacrifice your glory to maintain honor, and vice versa. So sometimes they're working together, and sometimes there's a tension. During this adventure, you'll keep track of the actions that would normally earn you glory if you were a knight, as well as your honor value. You do this by placing checks in the boxes next to the indicated skills, personalities, and personality traits and passions. And so where we're going to find that here is right here. So we check that off, skills, and then passions have checkboxes as well. Each box is only checked once. If you earned a check earlier in the adventure, any further instructions to check the box are ignored. After completing the adventure, you'll find instructions on how to tally everything up and see what type of character what kind of knight our character will become. So the more I'm reading this, the more I'm thinking maybe this is just like a tester, but we'll see. We'll see if we can carry this forward or not. As far as dealing and taking damage, you're going to roll multiple-sided dice to see how much damage done in combat. And sometimes you'll add a number to the total. This is basically just telling us dice mechanics, like 2d6 plus 4. And that the example they give is brawling with a quarterstaff would be 2d6 plus 4. But when you're just like doing unarmed combat, you'll just apply a set number of points of damage. All right, and it's usually between 4 and 5, depending on your size and strength. So unaugmented attacks are not rolls; they're just like whatever that derived number is. Armor protects against damage, but whatever gets through is deducted from the character's HP. Once HP falls below the character's unconscious threshold, the character is incapacitated, and if hit points ever fall to 0 or less, the character is dying. Although combat is not the focus of this scenario, there are certain paths you take that lead to combat. In such circumstances, you must keep track of both your hit points and those of your opponent, as well as make all dice rolls on your opponent's behalf. So it looks like it's player-facing dice rolls. And let's see here. Okay, current HP, and then debilitated if we get 0. I guess that would be the characters. Okay, so it says unconscious is 7. And so if it falls below their unconscious threshold, they're incapacitated. If they fall to 0 or less, they're dying. We'll figure out more about that. I think that's just an introduction to that idea. All right, moving on. Okay, so I misunderstood that. I was looking through all these character sheets, and I'm like, all these character sheets are 21, but they're saying a character sheet's provided with the scenario. This is a simplified version of the standard character sheet. That's actually here. And so you've benefited from a lifetime of active and passive instructions in culture, Christian religion, and the duties of knights and nobles. And so give your character a name. They have some examples here, but surprisingly, it does not say Jorma, which, as we know, all man-alone characters are named Jorma. Characteristics are your physical attributes. You have no notable strengths or weaknesses. How these function in play will be covered in the events in this scenario, but you also will derive stats from them: hit points, movement, etc. And we have personality traits. They do add up to 20. As one goes up, the other goes down. For instance, 13, 7, 14, 6. A character tends to act according to the trait with the greater value. The bold personality traits are your religious traits. So chaste, forgiving, merciful, modest, spiritual, temperate. These are the most important to you in your religion. Other traits, those marked with a star, are particularly important for knights. So that's energetic, generous, just, merciful, modest, valorous, and nothing on the sort of negative side. You may now customize your traits. All traits start at a base value of 10. Your religious traits each gain a bonus of +3. Remember that this reduces the opposite trait. Your valorous traits begin at 15. Now choose one trait and make it 16. This is your famous trait. So let's see. You may now customize your trait values. All traits start at a base of 10. Okay, so all of them are 10. And then our religious ones are +3. So I'd go chaste is 13, forgiving is 13, merciful, modest, spiritual, temperate. Your valorous traits begins at 15. Your valorous trait begins at 15. Okay, so I think those are the ones that are decided here. The other ones we could say, let's see, energetic, generous, honest, just, merciful, modest, prudent. So I probably want it weighted on this side, but I guess I could roll to see. But it says now choose one trait and make it 16. This is your famous trait. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Perfect. So I'll roll a d6 to see what my famous trait will be. A 6. So it'll be trusting. Oh, that's going to be very, very difficult for me to play. I like that, though. Good. All right. So my trusting is 16 and my suspicious is 4. That's going to be hard for me to play because I wouldn't say I'm paranoid, but I'm somebody who usually reserves my judgment about someone, even if it appears that I do not. The rest of these, I'm just going to roll. So 2, we probably don't want, I guess, maybe a different way to do this would be to roll a d6, because I'm not going to put like energetic at 1 or 19. It looks like most of these are going to be between like 7 or I don't know. So let me just read to the end here. Choose one trait, make it a 16. This is your famous trait, what you're known for, just trusting. And then distribute 6 points amongst any of the other traits. No other trait may be raised above 15, but you are free to put all of your points into a trait if you wish, so long as it remains under 16. I see. So we now have 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, and we then have 6 points to distribute amongst those traits. Okay. I'd say with the 10s, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we'll call one of these. Well, it'd be a D5, but I'm going to choose one to also. Why don't we say spiritual? Spiritual will be the number 6 here. So we're going to give 1, 2, 3, 4 to honest, to generous. 1, 2, 3. Okay. To honest again. Did I mess that up? Let me start over again. Hold on. All right. So 2 is going to be 1, 2, generous. Okay. And then 3 is going to be honest. And then 3 is going to be honest. Okay, I'm not rolling this now. Okay, it really wants me to be honest. So that'll be 4 points, 1 on generous. Okay, honest. Yeah, interesting. All right, last one for just. Okay, so that means that of these 6 points, one of them is going to generous, 4 of them is going to honest, and 1 of them is going to just. So my just will be 11, my honest will be 14. So I'm very honest and trusting. Now I am 14, so that could change over time, but let's hope that this young man doesn't go the way I did. So that means that my chaste is 13, my lustful is 7, my energetic and lazy are balanced, my forgiving is 13, vengeful is 7, generous 11, selfish 9, honest 14, deceitful 6, just 11, arbitrary 9, merciful 13, cruel is 7, modest 13, proud 7, prudent 10, reckless 10, 13 spiritual, 7 worldly, 13 temperate, 7 indulgent, 16 trusting, 4 suspicious, and then 15 valorous, and 5 cowardly. Okay, cool. It just has to remain under 16, so let's make sure that I didn't put any accidentally at 16 other than trusting. Okay, great. After finishing your traits, move on to passions. Passions are intense beliefs that may provide inspiration, boosting a single skill or trait for a short time. Passions are especially useful in combat or when attempting a difficult task. If traits represent your personality, passions represent the value your character holds most dear. The most important passion is honor, and this begins with a value of 15. Okay, passions are down here. So they're already written in. There are many other passions, including adoration, devotion, hate, station, and chivalry. For the purposes of your character, we focus on 3 others aside from honor: homage to Lord, love of family, and hospitality. These each start with 15 as well. For definitions of each personality traits, we're going to see Chapter 3, Traits and Passions, in Book 2. I'm just going to take a look at that. Okay, this is actually one situation in which I'm glad I jumped ahead a little bit, just because this really puts it into focus, and I think it's a good way to explain it. So when you have to roll on a trait, you're looking to roll under, okay? And each of your traits, based on the level of it, is either unsung, normal, famous, or exalted. If it's 0 to 4, it's unsung. Normal, it's 5 to 15. Famous, 16 to 20. And exalted is 20 plus a modifier. Like it could be 20 plus 2 and the opposite 0. If you have an exalted trait, which I'm guessing takes a long time to get, that completely defines the person's personality, and you never act otherwise. It's like automatic when you are applying that trait. And so when there's normal is 5 to 15 and famous is 16 to 20. So most of these are going to be normal rolls. And so if you're doing a trait roll, there's some modifiers that can be applied, right? There's like if say that there's something where you're rolling against valorous and you're fighting like 3 enormous gruesome beasts, that might make it that might call for a modifier that makes it like a little less likely that you're gonna roll on valorous, so that'll modify the target for that. But You can roll for normal traits in any order you wish. You can either roll for the one that you have higher or lower. If they're famous or exalted, you have to roll the higher one first, the one that you're known for. Or I guess if you're exalted, you don't have to roll at all. And then you would say that, let's see, which do I have here? All right, so say that forgiving is 13 and vengeful is 7, right? And so I find out that one of my so-called friends, stole my, what's something that a knight would have that they would need to bring, my practice sword or something, like a wooden sword. They stole it as a prank, and because of that, I got in trouble. And I found out that they stole it as a prank, and maybe they didn't realize that it was going to go so far with it, and they're sorry. My character has 13 forgiving and 7 vengeful. I can roll whichever one first that I want, but I probably roll forgiving first, and I roll a 10. So that is under. All right. And because of that, it is a success. And so you still have to roll for a normal trait. You still have to roll the other one. All right. Now I have 7 on the other side of that. And so if it's a critical, which means that it's like, I think if you roll exactly what the value is, so if I would have rolled 13 there, it would have been critical. Yeah, a critical success or critical is when a die roll exactly matches the stat value. A roll of 17 for a character with charge 17 is a critical success. You've achieved ultimate success with a crit and usually get some added benefit. Always compare the roll against the final modified value of the stat. A skill with a value of 6, for example, receives a +5 modifier for the final value of 11. Let's not worry about that. All right, so I rolled a 13. That was a success. And so I am forgiving. Could be like end of story, I suppose. But say that I failed it. I roll again for the opposing trait. In this case, it would be for vengeful. And I got an 11, which means that I did not get under 7. So I failed forgiving and I failed vengeful. And what that means is that I'm neither of those. And if that happens, I act however I wish. Right? Because I'm not leaning into either extreme of that. So if I have a success with the roll of the first one, right? My value is 13. I roll a 10, success. I'm going to be forgiving. If I fail that roll, I roll the other one. If that is also a fail, then it's sort of like, call it off. Just act however, just choose a way to act. But if I fail the first roll, and I roll a 19, which is over my 13, and then I'm trying to roll under 7, and I roll a 2, so I did succeed at the bad one, the opposing trait, then I'm going to act against, that's a fumble, and I'm going to act very strongly in accordance with the opposing trait. So, in this case, my friends all know me as a very patient, calm person, but I take my wooden sword and I hit him with the butt of the sword right on the head, and I cause him to bleed. And everyone's like, Jorma, what's wrong? And then I have to incorporate that moment into my character. Like, what did that mean? I did something out of character. What could have explained that? What are the implications of that? Is that going to cause a change in that or whatever? All right, so if that didn't make too much sense, I am learning it out loud. So again, if anybody is more experienced, let me know if I don't explain anything right. I'm very open to redirection in that. So we have our passions are all 15, and now we have our skills, right? So again, we had traits, passions, skills, and it looks like our skills are awareness, courtesy, first aid, folklore, hunting, intrigue, oration, orate, religion, and then we have battle skills. So it looks like total 3, 6, 8, 3, 6, 14 skills, 4 passions, and 5, 10, 13 traits. I'm thinking the passions can be different for certain people. I'm going to read the skills part. All right, cool. So, again, this is an abridged sheet. So in an actual character sheet, there's going to be more than this. But for this one, we have battle skills and, skills that you could use in a variety of situations. And so it says, because I am a chivalric knight in training, I add 3 to charge, horsemanship, and courtesy. Now, these skills are at base what is listed here. So like, if I have no modification, my awareness is 5. Because my courtesy, because that's listed at base at 7, being a knight in training, I was able to add +3. And now I'm also going to be able to add a selected family characteristic with a 1d6, okay? And so we'll see. You know what? Why am I not using my little thing here? Okay. I don't know why, but these dice, I need something with like the curved ends here. There we go. All right, so my characteristic is keen-eyed, and so that means I have a +3 to awareness. Awareness at base is 5, so that makes it 8. And then I have 10 points amongst skills with the limitations as follows. No skill above 15. No skill with a starting value may be increased. And let's see which ones are 0. Doesn't look like any are 0 on here, but maybe others. The following skills may not be raised above the value of the appeal characteristic at the time of character creation. Courtesy, flirting, folklore, intrigue, and oration. Bonuses from your chivalric skill modifiers, and family characteristics may raise skill values above the limitations set out above. Okay, so we have 10 points here. So we have first aid, folklore, hunting, intrigue, oration, religion, brawling, two-hand hafted, and apparently what I've heard is that this like kind of summarized and combined some of these. Like I'm not sure if this is exactly correct, but I think they had like a battle skill for flails and maces, and now it's just like all two-hand hafted weapons. So let's take a look here. Let's see if we can like align any of this thematically with my traits. So I'm very trusting. I'm valorous. I'm honest. I'm forgiving. And so I'm going to say that one of the things I'll add to here is religion. I'm going to add 3 to that. So that'll be an 8. And trusting and valorous. So I'm going to give a +2 to brawling. So I have 5 left. So brawling is 6. That'll bring it to 8. And I'm also going to give a +2 to swords. So that's 6 to 8. So I have 3 left. And maybe my dad taught me to hunt. I'll add 1 to that. That'll be a 6. I'll add 1 to folklore. That would be an 8. And for some reason, I'm going to not do oration or intrigue. I feel like I'm quite naive, but also innocent and just kind and sees the best in people. And so maybe even a bit shy. So we'll do 1 in first aid, bring that up to 7. And we'll do 1 with two-hand hafted, bringing that up to 7. Otherwise, our spear is 6, oration 7, intrigue 7. Awesome. Now, what I'm not sure about, it didn't tell me yet, and it looks like it's about to get into the adventure. So we'll stop here, but I'm wondering, how do I get my HP here? I'll take a look at that. If you know, write it down in the comments. And the next video, we will start this adventure with our character our keen-eyed Jorma, who is ready to begin their adventure in Sir Ector's manor. I hope you enjoyed this. If this is not your thing, totally cool. If it is your thing, make sure to like and subscribe and consider a membership. But I really feel good about this. I'm already feeling really connected to this game, and I think this could be a really positive experience. So thank you all, especially the members. Woo! I love members. Woo! Oh my gosh, it's 4:30 in the morning. What's wrong with me? Why do I do this?